Hi everybody, welcome back to the Teco YouTube channel. What we're going to talk about today is how to dismount and inspect the ET3V valve from Corel. On the Rockstar Smart we have two valves in parallel, so this can be done while the system is running. If the system only has one valve, then you need to shut the system down and perform the service or the maintenance on the valve. But our systems have two valves, so what I'm going to show you is on this valve over here, this one's going to be disconnected on the monitoring system. We're going to shut it down and isolate it and make sure that it's not on the system at all. So what we'll do first is we'll just take off the two valve covers. We have the one on the top. This one, and then the one on the bottom. These valves are then closed with a shifting spanner. Remember, you always need to close the top one first. Closed all the way, and then the bottom one. And then making sure that they are closed all the way tight. Now you can see we have some pressure in the system over here that we need to first make sure that we get it out of the system, make sure that there's no pressure left in there. But first, before we do that, we need to take the valve off and just open the valve to make sure that the gas that's trapped from that valve is also evacuated. So we just unscrew the valve top, the stepper motor, and we can take the manual stepper motor, and we've got to open, turning to the left, and the right, turning to the closed. We can stick it on, and then what we can do is we can just open the valve a little bit to make sure that all the gas comes out. Now what we'll do is we'll let the pressure out of the system nice and slowly. There we go. Now we can see that the pressure has been released from the system. From here we can take the manual magnet off, and we can open up the insulation. Then we can use the spanner. And nice and tight, you can start dismounting the valve. Just remember, if you hear any hissing coming out of the valve at this stage, please stop and make sure that there's no pressure left in the system. We can then unscrew the valve. Okay. Right, once we've taken the valve out, then we can have a look at the actual filter over here. Make sure that the filter is not bent or it's not dirty. If it's dirty, then you can obviously change it or clean the strainer, and then also inspect the valve. You can use the manual magnet and you can turn it all the way open. Make sure that there's no resistance on the valve itself. You can see it's all the way there. So what we do when we reinstall the valve, there's two things that we need to take into consideration. The first thing is make sure that the valve is all the way open. We normally replace the gasket, and then what we do is we replace the seal. The seal needs to be replaced every time that you change the valve. Put on a new seal. Make sure that it's clean and has no scratches. Put the valve back on, and then we can reinstall the valve. Just remember, while reinstalling the valve, you need to make sure that the valve is retracted and not all the way out. You can damage the valve if the valve has been opened up all the way. Once the valve is back on, then you can use your spanner and normally torque it to about 60-65 Newton meters. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure that we open the vacuum pump. You can see the gauge, vacuum pump is running, and we open the gauges all the way so we can pull a good vacuum to get all of the air that's been introduced into the system over here. We'll let the vacuum pump run until it's at the correct pressure. Just remember at this stage that your valve is also in the open position as well. Then once the vacuum has been done, then what we will do is we will close the gauge over here, and then we'll go to the valve and we will make sure that we close the valve. So just remember on the top over here, close is turning that way. So we will close the valve all the way until you hear the clicking sound. Make sure that that's closed all the way, and then we can start reassembling in all of the parts. First we'll put on the coil. And then we will seat the valve, service valve. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then we can start opening up the main valves. First valve to open up is the top one. Make sure that's all the way open. Just make sure, listen and feel once you open the bottom valve to make sure that there's no gas going through the system. It's very important that this valve is closed at this stage. We will then reassemble all of the insulation and put the caps back onto the service valves. And there you go. That's how you service and inspect the E3V valve.